Online brings you the neo-dimensional training with a tab, digital visualization. We have the best-in-class EWM trainer in the market to deliver the quality education and share his experiences. Our approach and methodology to the training is unique. Let me introduce our methodology we believe in. Real-time case studies. We understand that many of our participants did not get any opportunity to visit the warehouse to understand the real-time scenarios. Introducing the real-time business cases every time and building the discussion on available solutions in EWM make the participant easier to understand and remember for life. Visual presentation. We believe human brains understand the process visually faster than the text. That is why our platform to explain each and every object on visual slides and the screenshots. Interactive methods. To keep the session alive, we always believe in interactive sessions and encourage the participants to ask as many questions and share his views and expertise. That really helps and gives other participants to gain more knowledge. Hands-on experience. We always believe in action rather than words. Assigning the task every end of the session, support the participants to run the practice seamlessly, preparing for the mark tests, etc. This is where we believe. And finally, the strength of our training. Mentoring even after the course. Our service is unique because we believe in after sales, meaning we always be in connect with the participants even after the course completion. The participant can always be in touch with us via WhatsApp or email. Thank you for watching, and let us get to the agenda today. Hope you enjoy our presentation. Don't forget to subscribe our channel and follow. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Okay, until then we have seen all this integration part. So we also should know something about the delivery integration. So what is this actually? Let me go back to the SAP system. When I okay, you know what a document type is basically? You see, basically, you know, when I say a transactional document is getting created in SAP, yesterday we discussed, right? So purchase orders, sales orders, deliveries, any kind of when you do certain transaction with your business partner, so it gets created. So, you know, for every document, you have something called a document type. Basically, you know, it's kind of a controlling factor. You know, what kind of a screen do you want, and what are the fields do you want to, you know, to be visible, and what are the, you know, tabs do you need to fill your information. You know, when SAP gives you a product, it gives you as a whole. But you know, on certain business requirements, you don't need to see all the tabs, all the fields. You know, it gets confused. Some fields which you don't use it, like, you know, some of the fields which you nowhere use in your business. So the business tells you that, okay, hide that field. I don't want that because, you know, I'm not using it, by the way. And it seriously, you know, it gives a lot of confusion to my business users. You know, that kind of a control when you're creating certain document, like say purchase order document. You know, I think I'm going to call one purchase order document. As soon as I call a purchase order document, it also have a transaction document, right? It also has a document type. This is a document type. So each document type is different here. If you notice, I'm maintaining, you know, see, here you see in additional data, there is one document called a framework order. It has a certain validity period, but there is a normal purchase order, which, you know, it's different. You know, it doesn't have it. You see, it's gone. A tab is gone. It means certain documents are specific, and it contains specific you know, fields, and the screens are different. So all these kinds of you know, user interfaces, it is controlled by a document type, whether it can be a delivery document type or you know, purchase order or a sales order. Like how, you know, what Brian was saying, in sales order you have a copying controls, because, you know, most of the times you always create a document with a reference, so a lot of data has to be copied to a followed document. So you will always have a, you know, restriction on, again, on document level, saying that these document type, if you use, yes, you can copy it. Likewise, so on a nutshell, like, you know, remember that a document type is something which controls the document. If it is a purchase order, you have purchase order document type. If it is a delivery order, if it is a delivery order, it is a delivery document type. Okay. So these integrations, what is a delivery integration? So what happens when an inbound delivery is replicated to EWM? So it should find, you know, when a document is getting created, it should find a link between a document type of you know, S4 HANA to a document type of EWM. That link you should build. That is what we are going to discuss today with this integration, so that, you know, system can create a document automatically. Otherwise, it will fail.
It will not create, because document type is like, it's a primary, it's a mandatory. Then only system will understand what fields has to be published, what fields has to be made, uh, you know, mandatory, and some fields which are not required. Sometimes you see here, this seems to be a mandatory field. Means until and unless you enter it, it cannot allow you to going forward. And this is, optional. Even if you enter or not, it won't validate. It will just move on. They are just, optional, and these are mandatories. Likewise, all these controls can be done through document type. Likewise, you have a document type at header level. At item level, you have item types. In here in S4HANA, you have item categories, but in EWM, you have item types. You see, this is a document type, and we have something called item types. Yeah, here you see the item types. Okay. So basically, it controls the factors, a lot of factors of that particular specific document, whether it is a, fields to be mandatory, the statuses, what is going to be created going forward, what do you want to create after this document. Likewise, there are so many factors which will control. So we're going to see focus more on EWM documents types. Okay, not on here. So, but I want to give a picture of, what exactly is this. And now when we talk about integration, so this is where it is. So when an inbound delivery is created with document type EL and item type ELN, what document type should it pick to create the inbound delivery in EWM? That link you have to build, as part of your delivery integrations. Okay. Okay, so let's see in the slides. So to differentiate the processes, okay, mainly we can differentiate process into inbound, outbound, and internal movements. So if you see here, as soon as an inbound delivery gets created, so it is creating as an inbound delivery notification and followed by an inbound delivery. In fact, in the latest modules of S4 HANA, latest versions, you can always skip this part. You don't need it anymore. It can be, you can read it as directly to PDI. Okay. And and go, and for the one which the purchase orders without the inbound delivery, it gets created as a goods receipt notification and followed by expected goods received, and then you create inbound delivery. So this is how the following documents happen. And for the outbound delivery, as soon as it is created in S4 HANA, it creates ODRs, outbound delivery request, and outbound delivery order, and finally an outbound delivery. And then for the any kind of posting changes, like the status of a material has to be changed. Let's say an unrestricted stock, when a picker has identified that there is a broken pallet and it cannot be made for sale, so he wants to immediately block that pallet. So in that case, you use the posting changes. Even that also can be triggered from ECC, and sometimes, most of the time it is triggered from EWM, but it is also triggered from S4HANA also. Are you guys following it? Indra, Hari?
Yeah.
Mansur?
Yes.
When I say triggering, what happens? It's not all the time, S4 HANA drives EWM. It's not all the time happens. Sometimes, most in it is possible for the document directly can be created in EWM. It's not all the time. You see, for example, the posting changes, as I say, the visibility of a product you have more in EWM, not in S4 HANA, because S4 HANA is just at storage location level, but in EWM you'll see the product visibility at bin level. So the pickers, when they go for a ride, to check the status of different products, or they go just for a monitoring, they have visibility at the EWM level. So it is always advisable, you always trigger the transaction from EWM, the other side, and then gets created, that respective document gets created in S4 HANA. Sometimes you also do it from side also. In that cases, it creates a delivery followed by a posting change request, and you have a posting change notice. And for a production orders, like production material request, like when a production order is created, you want to stage materials for raw material consumptions. Okay, so that is created as a production material request. Are you getting it? Okay, I'll tell you something. What happens in production, when I say production, there are some manufacturing industries, like manufacturing companies, where they manufacture their own products. It is basically their finished products, which they sell it to the customers, like, the retail industries. Okay, those finished products, if you want to manufacture a finished products, you need raw materials. So when you procure raw materials from your, from your suppliers, you store it in the warehouses. So what happens whenever any production activity starts, like, he says, okay, today, from tomorrow morning, I'm starting a new production. of certain finished product. And though for that finished product to create or to manufacture, I want these many raw materials, like raw material 1, 2, 3, 4. So every time when he needs a raw material, he cannot go to warehouse and bring the stock, right? It kills a lot of time. So instead, they store a material in the production floor itself. Like we call it as a production supply areas. Are you getting it?
Yes, yes.
Like every time there is a machine working there, and you need certain raw material, and you cannot just run to warehouse to get a product, that raw material. You cannot do that. So for that, what you do, you just somewhere nearby that shop floor, you keep some storage, small storage, wherein you keep all your raw materials. So immediately the shop floor guy can just pick that product and consume for your finished product manufacturing. That is basically, we call that place, that space in that shop floor area, we call it as PSA, production supply area. Please make note of it. But however, we are going to discuss in the going sessions. But I would suggest you note down whatever the new terminology you feel so important. Okay. So for that production supply areas, whatever the stock you want to replenish to these PSAs, it should come with some request to this warehouse supervisors, right? Some request has to come from production department so that you can replenish, or you can transfer a stock from your warehouse to PSAs. Those request documents are nothing but the PMRs. Understood? Yes or no?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So all these requests, whatever you see here, so there are something called internal movement. Sometimes you do stock transfer. Here you don't have any reference because you don't need to send any information to S4HANA, because you just internal movements, like bin to bin movement, storage type to storage type movements. If they does belong to same storage location, you don't need to send any information back to S4HANA. So all these kinds of activity, you call warehouse optimize, what you call warehouse optimizations, I think. Yeah, like you do certain activities, organize, you organize within the warehouses to move stock here and there. And sometimes you change the places of those particular stocks, like if they are not fast moving, suddenly there are seasonal trends which suddenly the stock demand drops, and those products you don't want to keep it on a front side of your racks. You better keep it in the back. So all these kinds of organizations, you like organizing your warehouses, so those basically involve stock transfers. So those you don't need to send any information, because it's however in your warehouse, neither stock increases nor decreases, and even the stock types also not changing, so you don't need to send. So whatever you see here, if you notice here, something I have maintained in the brackets, IDR, PDI, GRF, EGR, these all things you should remember by heart. So what does it means actually? If I go back to my system here, it is called something called a document category. Okay, we have discussed about document type, but what is a document category? uh, we know that we create document types, and we give a nomenclature to understand what is it. You see, it also created with certain number, right? So 1803, even the numbering also, the number ranges can also be controlled by document types. All these things we do it, the reason behind is to understand what document it is, right? So because I'm creating an inbound delivery, so I've given a nomenclature as INP, so that I can easily identify. And outbound delivery, it can have something different, OBD or something I create, and I give a different numbering for that. Maybe I give like two series. So as soon as somebody, some business user, as soon as it looks at that number, or by document type, we immediately identify that it is a inbound delivery, right? So it's all to identify. For identification, you have all these nomenclatures you define it. So the same way, this for the system to understand, how the system will understand whether it is an inbound delivery or an outbound delivery. It is determined by, it is understood by the system by document categories. So these all things you will have to remember by heart, basically. Very important. These are all predefined. So what does it mean predefined, Ayappa? What is predefined?
Predefined are something like not variables. They are understood by the system in the standard way.
Right. They cannot be changed, right? So they are predefined. It cannot be changed, but it will understand only by this nomenclature. So you should remember all this by heart. Whenever I say a PDO, you should immediately get into your mind that it's actually an outbound delivery order. Okay. Likewise. So these integrations we are going to do. So when an inbound delivery is created, it should create with a inbound delivery PDI. Okay. And these documents, if you notice here, are like let me connect to the, You see these things, this one. These are basically, or like, the containers. When you, I'm not sure if, going forward, if you are working with embedded systems, all these documents will not be used going further. Okay. They are in the decentralized systems, they are considered as a containers, like, when an inbound delivery is transported. Okay, when an inbound delivery is transported or replicated to here, to create this document, okay, to create this inbound delivery, it behaves as a container. It contains all the information of S4 HANA, and then after a couple of configurations, validations by taking into consider in EWM, finally it creates EWM document. This is what we will be very much bothered about. Okay, and going forward in embedded system, this may not be available, it is gone. Previously, if you work with, like, SEM box, then only it will work, it will be available. But with S4 HANA, this directly creates this document. Okay, because both shares the same database, right? There's no point again creating a separate document again. That integration is done by embedding this AWS solution into S4 HANA. Okay, so okay, so this is the this is what I call it as an integration. So whenever creates a document with EL, it should link with a document type of what is this INV. This linking I should do. System should understand whenever an inbound delivery created, it creates with EL, it should create with INV. So this integration I'm going to go we are going to see now. Okay, any questions on this?